welcome to Broker Tools, where we unpack the tools, systems, and strategies that help brokers optimize the way they work. I'm Katie, your host, and today we are catching up with James from Content Snare. Content Snare is the platform for brokers wanting to automate their fact-find process. In this episode, we're going to explore how Content Snare helps you reduce the turnaround time with client onboarding. If you've ever been looking for an app to support your client documentation collection, Content Snare might be for you. James, welcome to the pod. Or should I say,
Katie. Katie, it's awesome to be here.
Yes, thank you for joining me. And I know it's a bit odd to say oi, but that's how you start all LinkedIn posts.
Yeah, I don't know. That's so silly. I can't believe that's taken hold. I guess people that don't, people won't know who I am, but it became like everyone seems to have something they're known for on LinkedIn. All the advice is to be known for something. And I hate writing about the same topic over and over and over. And so I like being sort of differentiated and writing new and cool things. And so I was like, in lieu of having an actual thing I can be known for, I'm just going to say oi a lot. Start every post with oi and then just stuck to it.
And now, who knows, it might be a shirt that people wear.
Yeah, that's right. People have literally said they want a shirt with oi on it. And if I forget and forget to write oi at the start of a post, within a few minutes, someone will have corrected me on it. So I guess it's here to stay.
Why not? Ultimately, these are the stories we want to tell with people, because Content Snare is, I guess, the ultimate discussion we're going to have. But you started your entrepreneurial journey way before Content Snare. What happened? How did you get into it?
So to spare like the boredom of all the details, I think we've been in software for a long time. We built our first product in 2010, incorporated then, and through many years we've gone through, I think this is if you count actual ones that got to market, I think it's our third product, but we've probably built 5 or 6 that sort of we just abandoned. In that period, had like a digital agency doing websites and marketing for people, and software development, custom software development. That was, quite a while ago now. Content Snare was started in 2017 out of a problem that we had in our web design agency. And I knew every designer I knew. I actually interviewed a bunch of people about like what their biggest problems were, and like getting information from people came up constantly. So we were like, that we can try and solve that. And so we built Content Snare initially for web designers, but that was 2016, 2017. And then 2021, well, we knew we had lots of people coming from lots of different industries, mortgage, legal, accounting, whatever. And it was kind of just maybe 2021, we refined that and have spent most of our time since in the accounting, bookkeeping, mortgage, and kind of legal industries are probably our top ones now. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a weird journey. We just found people finding Content Snare on their own and going, well, God, we love this. And we're like, wait, you're not a web designer. But it turns out they get a lot more value out of it from web design than web designers. So that's kind of where we're in, is this like, I don't know, do you call it professional services, broking, whatever? I don't know what I call this whole area.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's finance and obviously people in finance, but then, document collection is document collection. And I guess the gift of this niche is that it's got very, very specific requirements. And I guess this is the value of what Content Snare does, because not only is it a document collection tool, it's not just a form, it has some special features. And I guess one of the things that adds value is the level of data security and processing. What would you say that Content Snare does well in this area?
I guess, it's honestly one of the biggest things we talk and think about internally. It informs every single development feature. And in fact, almost to my, it almost makes me mad because it slows down everything a lot. Like when we're like, oh, surely it's just quickly to build this thing. And the developer's like, yeah, but to do it the secure way, we've got to do this, that. And I'm like, damn it, like secure. but it's what we have to do, right? Like it's just, I don't know, especially in this world that we live in now, where with cyber attacks, like, I don't know how much you follow investing, but like one of my best performing ETFs is a cybersecurity one. Like it's absolutely ripped over the last few years because everyone knows how important it is. And like everyone feels like, I don't know, under threat. Like, yeah, so it's very important to us. What do we do? I mean, we have the badge, ISO 27001, that says we're doing all the things. We've been third-party audited to say we're doing all the right things, which, I mean, that covers so many things, from like policies, like doing a background check when you bring on a new employee, like that's literally part of it. Whereas like, what is your security documentation? Like, you know, what are your policies when you bring on a new employee, when you offboard an employee? How do you know like sensitive data isn't sitting on people's laptops? Like there's all these like policies and procedures and like training and like an agent that sits on your computer to make sure like you're not doing things, that you have certain settings and stuff enabled on your device for security reasons, through to the actual code, right? Like you obviously want to have everything encrypted, like the standard stuff's encrypted at rest, encrypted in transit, which means like, I mean, these are a muchness. Everyone should have that these days, but that doesn't mean, just those two things don't mean you're secure, right? Because you could have encryption set up, but have like a backdoor in your application that allows, once people get in there, the app decrypts everything anyway, right? So a lot of people ask about those things, but they're actually not. They're only like a small piece. So we get our application penetration tested by, actual security people. They're like ethical hackers. They try to hack into our stuff and find like potential flaws or whatever. And so we can patch them before, which, I mean, the last one, it found a couple of things, but they were like super minor. It were like super, super minor. But I think we do go a little bit further than most people. Like one example, I mean, you don't have to do, it's called per tenant encryption, which means every single company that uses our product is encrypted in a different way. So, if someone somehow they get into your data, they work out the encryption key for your data, which is like infinitesimally small chance already, that they don't have access to anyone else's data. Even if they had the entire database and they get your encryption key, they don't know the encryption key of everyone else. I mean, you've got a serious security hole if someone gets your entire database, but like, it's just layers on top of layers, right? We do lots of different things to try and keep people's data secure. And, all the requirements of ISO, but beyond it as well.
Which is really helpful because before now, nobody's really actually fully explained their data security levels, which I actually appreciate that you did, because I guess if you are a broker and you are watching this, there is terminology that they say your data is secure. And if you use this platform, there is security in place. But what does that mean? What does that look like? A lot of people do what they call encryption at rest, which is when, if I got this correct, I'm not a cyber, like I do cyber stuff and I have awareness enough, but I am not a security person. So what I understand the terminology is at rest is that when it's sitting in storage, that is encrypted. But then in transit, it's I call it the pipeline. So it's almost like a pickup car has picked up your data over here. It's in transit, is that vehicle is now being encrypted, and as it transits over to being at rest.
But I mean, this is much of a muchness now. Like HTTPS, everything is on HTTPS, and for most people, that's what encrypted in transit means. Like, so everyone's encrypted at transit now. Like, but it's funny because you got to write that down and say yes, you do it. I mean, there are other pieces, but for majority, that's it. And you raise something important there. Like, everyone says they're secure. Of course they do. We've had brand new companies come out that say from day one they're super secure, and like backdoors everywhere. Like, I've seen this myself. Well, not myself, but look, let's just say there are companies out there that we know they're not doing penetration tests because someone would have found vulnerabilities immediately. And of course, their websites say we're very, very secure. So yeah, it's a bit of a funny thing, because how do you communicate this to like a buyer of our software? Like, because they come to us and they go, how secure is Content Snare? Like, what am I going to say? I'm not going to go into this tirade I just went on for you about all the different bits and pieces. I mean, I guess I could, but they don't want to hear that. They just want to hear you say, yeah, it's secure.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say? Like, it's 8. Like, just throw out a random number of how secure it is. Like, because a lot of people who ask the question aren't necessarily ready for the answer or don't really understand anyway. So it's a really weird thing talking about security. I feel like I'm glad you liked the detail I went through there.
And at the end of the day, I guess the way I've always seen broken tools as it's an education. And sure, if you are even remotely watching this to the extent that we are, it is a lot of information. But I'm going into the details for the simple fact that people do say things are secure and they're not. And now that we've got AI in the mix, and then there are people who are saying, oh, we have AI and it's not AI, it's an automation. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, sure, we're talking about a way to collect documents and how to streamline that process for you, what services are available out there, you know, and obviously you in Content Snare are one of probably the best out there, because people need to be able to collect documents and do it as securely as possible. And this is why your niche existed, because sure, you started off in web, but they didn't really need the refined points of document security.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I think a benefit we got from starting in web is that we started out as collecting like text and numbers and like anything, not just documents, which I think actually was beneficial when we came into this industry, because a lot of quote unquote document collection tools literally just collect documents and files, whereas from what people I talk to almost never need just files. They need people to answer questions, type things in, like, and answer just normal questions, not file questions. So yeah, I think we got that. That was lucky for us.
Yeah, and I think I know that accountants and I know mortgage brokers, this hasn't touched them yet, but you know the AML and CTF process is coming in for is it Trench 2?
Yeah. I don't know how to say trench. I don't know. I don't proper pronounce it.
But there's touch points in document collection points that matter with the the AML CTF process. And as a broker, you need to be aware across it. You might not have the same requirements as an accountant, but in my humble opinion, from an outsider looking in, I think document collection is probably one of the flag points that notifies you whether or not a person is legitimate or not.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it from the mortgage broker side, I'll be honest, but I imagine, like, I spent a lot of time on this, right? Because we do have a lot of accountants on the platform, and I mean, a bulk of, like, a lot of it outside of like the reporting to authorities and stuff, and like keeping an eye on your clients, because the difference in an accountant is they're working with a client all the time, so they need to be watching. Like, generally, I imagine a broker, like, you do the transaction and then it's another transaction later on, sort of thing, rather than this continuous relationship. So there's a point in time when you need to just work out who that person is, what they say they are. And I mean, that we built in this ability to do the identity verification and AML screening, and to sort of simplify what that is essentially doing is the ID verification is making sure they are who they say they are. So the classic is they get their phone out and they take a selfie. The more advanced version is like they have to like turn their head and count to, like, say 4 numbers that are on the screen, so you know it's the real person and not some like reused photo or something that they've got of the other person. And is like license information or a passport or whatever. So that's step 1, is like get the identity. That's who, and verify they are who they say they are, and verify that the document is real. That's kind of all wrapped up in there. But then the second part, the AML screening, is really just checking they're not on like databases. Are they on any watch lists, politically exposed persons, sanctions, child exploitation, terror? Like, there's a ton of these lists around the world, and it's really just making sure the person's not on any of those. So we actually felt this was pretty natural. We already had identity verification in Content Snare, so it wasn't really much of a extra step to add AML, because it's literally just the same thing. Click a button, start the process. They do the identity verification, then all the screening happens on the background. So I haven't seen the actual requirements for brokers, but I imagine that would be a bulk of it. Then flagging whether they're dodgy. Like, you have to do a risk assessment, most likely. This is what accountants have to do, and go, based on what I've seen, should I work with this person or not? Here's why I said, the reason.
Yeah. To my knowledge, the Tranche 2 is really not applicable to brokers,
Right.
but you do have AML,
Yeah.
CTF.
I mean, that is AML, right? Like it generally when people say you have to do like AML screen, that's all it means, is like checking the databases.
Yeah. Nice. And I guess having a software and a service that holds that data and or can, contain that information is probably a really great place to be, because I've not seen it in any other document collection software.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, again, another one that we're just lucky to be that we have accountants that need it. So maybe you guys get it for free. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like some people don't want necessarily us to hold it. Like we do hold it, but to me, it's like we don't focus on being the central data store for people long term. People do use us like that, but like the way I like to operate is I've got Google Drive, whatever, maybe you've got 365 or some other document management platform, SharePoint, whatever. We want you to be able to get that info in there, which becomes your permanent storage, right? Like that's kind of the way we have integrations with those tools for that reason. Just since you flagged like having it all in one, like having all the data stored there. I mean, we do that and we can do that. It's just the way I like to work is getting it into the systems you're already using.
Yeah, and I guess having that export feature is probably paramount for management. And I guess I do know that holding driver's license is in your files is no longer required. Like you need to be able to process it, but you cannot. You have to also delete that particular file at some point.
Yep.
And I guess that's what your service is saying is you can export what you want to, store what you need to on our services if you need to, but then at some point you're happy to delete.
Yeah, that's right. So we actually have two different reports available. One is like kind of the proof that you just did it and all the results that came back from it. Like, the selfie checkout, did the AML screening, like what were the results? But then the more advanced report actually has the information like screenshot of the license that they took and whatever. So some people need that, but it's like we have it behind a checkbox. Like, are you sure you really need this? You're responsible. This is sensitive data, blah, 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 blah. Like, sorry, you have to actually opt in to get those reports. But yeah, some people need them.
And I think this is the key thing about having a really good document collection tool, because sometimes when you're just trying to collect documents, you don't want to think about these tiny little security, then your best interest duties or AML, CTF type requirements.
Yeah.
James, did you want to actually do a little demo of Content Snare?
Sure.
Have a little walkthrough so people actually see and know what it is.
So this is Content Snare, hell zoomed in, just to make it a bit easier to see on video. But yeah, so this is all the current like requests we have out. We call these a request. You can view it in this table view as well if you've got lots of clients on the go. A request is basically just saying like, I need this person, Aaron Thomas. They've got like 47 questions outstanding. They've completed 3 and I've approved 1 of them. So at a glance, we can see how far through all our clients are on what we've requested from them. So the process of sending a new request is simple as clicking new request, and then you're going to choose a template. Now, these are literally just like built-in templates that we have. We generally don't expect people to use them out of the box. These are there as a starting point to kind of show you what's possible with Content Snare. You've probably got some kind of checklist you're already sending to clients, in which case I would recommend going this new request with AI, and you can upload that questionnaire and we'll build your first request out of it. That's the back on security and AI and stuff. Like the only way any of your data goes to AI in our platform is if you use that feature. Like that's and then we send it. We use open AI to generate the question list and document list that you would send to somebody. But if you don't use that, we don't use AI. So yeah, so we might get like a little preview here. I'm just going to skip through this.
So just to confirm, a new request is actually another way of saying like a form.
Yeah, form or a checklist, just like here's the stuff we need from you. We try to avoid form because these days it's becoming more about like we need you to do all of these things, because instead of just like answer a question, it could be like, can you go and do this thing? Like give them instructions on go and do something, like, add me to some system or invite me to your bank. I don't know, like whatever it happens to be, it's not just getting info. It could be like assigning a task in a way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
cool.
yeah. So I'll come back to this like request instructions later, but the meat of this is the builder. So this is like the questions we're asking, right? So this is the quote unquote form. We're asking for a name, date of birth, address, and there's lots of different bits of information you can ask from someone. So this is the very form looking thing, right? We want a document or a file. We want them to put some text in. We want them to put in like their current address or the address that they're buying, select something from a list. We've got tables in there. So if you ever needed like a list of expenses, for example, you could get them to like a multi-column, like what expense do you have? What's your monthly expenditure on this, whatever. So you can put like, it's like a mini spreadsheet within the request. ID verification AML, which we spoke about before. Yeah, so we've got basic signatures now, but the like signature integrations are coming soon. So so you can actually get them like to sign a PDF at the end of the request. This is just a list of questions, really. One thing now, this template doesn't have a lot of, let me see. Yeah, we haven't really got any instructions in here. So one thing I would say it's really important to get information right the first time from the client is to heavily rely on instructions. So for example, when we say full name, I always ask myself, like, what are the ways a client could screw this up? Preemptively answer that. So a good one is like, make sure you include any middle names, because like, it's funny because everyone's like, oh, they're not going to screw up their name. Actually, they kind of might. So
yeah, because I probably would have just put my first name in my last name, not my middle name.
Yeah, exactly. So like anytime you like, and you'll notice this, like when you actually do the document collection process, you know what people screw up. And once you send them a Content Snare, you'll see what people screw up, and you can just come back in here and change your template. So the next time you send this out, it's got that updated instructions. Actually, I might even just turn this to a table so you can see what it looks like. We could say expense name, just go monthly, whatever. I'm just going to leave the 2 columns there for now. Yeah. So upload questions. Oh, and sorry, conditional logic as well. So we've got this question here. Do you have any assets such as real estate, whatever? If they say yes, we're going to show another question. So we're only showing them relevant questions. This is another really important thing if you want clients to actually use a system. Like if you dump them with this massive checklist that you would send everyone, and I've been on the receiving end of this from not just brokers, but like, you know, conveyancer was a big one. I just got this huge checklist and I was like, oh my God. Like I was like, I don't have time for this now. So I just put it away. But it turns out only like half of it was relevant to me. So if I knew that, I probably would have started earlier and gone, I do have time for this right now. But if it was too big, I was like, bugger this. So only showing people the relevant questions is way underrated. Like it's really important to not hit that like overwhelm trigger that people are going to get. Anyway, so once I've laid out all the questions, then we're going to go to the next step, which is a preview. I'll skip over that as well. I'll just send this to myself. Now you can put a pin code on it if you want, but otherwise that they can just access via clicking a link in their email, which is more secure than people think. And we can talk about this later if you want, but the next layer is put a pin code on it. And then what emails we're going to send to this person. So we'll do all our automated reminders for people to get like, so you don't have to chase clients for this stuff. I'm just going to turn those off and send this to myself now. So if I just open this link in a new window, so this is what your client would see. They'd get an SMS or an email or both that brings them in here. And you can see this is like super stripped back to make it just, everything we do runs through a filter. Like, can the most technically illiterate person I know work this out? And because that's the only way these are going to work. So this is like a welcome page, pretty much everything you see is fully customizable. Like we've got a video there, but like we always recommend putting your own video in there. Like awesome to be working with you, whatever. We need this information and here's why. And then you record that once and then you never need to do it again. Otherwise, we have a video there on like how to use Content Snare. And then it's just one thing on screen at a time. Smith, whatever. Can't type and talk at the same time. So they can go through and answer questions. So and they can sort of scroll through to different bits. Actually, where do we put that table? Yeah, so that's like, you know, they could enter a table. You could have pre-filled this as well with like certain categories of expense, so they don't have to try and type them all in.
Can you pre-populate the answers? So say you've been on a discovery call and they've given you the answers. Can we feed the answers?
Yeah, I actually skipped over that. So that was the preview step. On the preview step, you can engage pre-filling and then enter the stuff you've already got, and then you would ask so the client can just confirm that information. Yeah. Sorry, I should have gone through that. Another really popular feature is this one here, this like ask a question. So if they get stuck on something, they're in the middle, they don't know how to answer this properly, they can just pop this out and go like, I don't know, I'm just going to put random text there for now. But this is like, it just gets rid of that, them having to call you or them having to email you separately and go, hey, question 5, you've asked this. And now you're like trying to cross-reference what that question means versus them. This is all just in context. There's no like mental load of working that out. It's just like, here's their question. Oh, okay, like I'll answer it, right? So you obviously see the comment on your end as well. But then they can see really quickly what's outstanding. So they've actually completed nothing at this point except those 2 questions. But imagine like as they go through, this all gets ticked off. They can see really clearly where they're up to. And then when they get a reminder to say, hey, you're not finished, they can click it and they can very clearly see what you're still waiting on from them. So, and then the final bit, once they've actually started answering some questions, this is back on your side of things now. We can see they've got a comment in here, so I could go and answer that one. You can also leave internal comments. So this is like only your team would see it. If you want to like insult clients behind their back or something. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. You can also
do that because especially safe and secure things happen.
Yeah, and that's why it's dark blue.
Print out of this document.
That's why it's dark blue and really obvious. Funnily enough, we actually have the ability to not export the internal comments or not. You can turn that off when you export, which is up here. Nice. Yeah. So
sorry, I was having flashbacks to my days of when I worked in a call center in a insurance claims department, and someone accidentally mistyped the word this. So instead of spelling this, they spell SHIT.
Oh, yeah.
And then the person asked for the callback and they thought the consultant was swearing.
Oh my God. Yeah. You know what a crazy story is with these AI meeting note takers that are so prevalent now. Someone like finishing a client call and then staying on with their team and bitching about the client for 10 minutes and then having the automatic summary get sent to all the attendees, including the client.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Anyway, so try not to whinge about your clients behind their back. You do have
what we're saying. Be clean and clear and concise when you're using these.
And you can see this is one of those you can see that extra question showing up when I click yes there, but you can actually have internal questions too. Like if you had an internal checklist that you wanted to run, so this whole question would be blue. And it's like, you know, have you done all of these things? So you get to the end of the request and it's just like an internal note for your team to make sure you're actually doing all the things you're supposed to do. But what I wanted to show you is this feature here. So if they have done something incorrectly, like the date of birth, you could say, I'm pretty sure you weren't born in 2026, whatever. You can reject that question and get them to come back in and fix it. So that's marked in yellow. They get another email to say, hey, you haven't finished everything. So yeah, sorry, there it is. There's the email that just says, hey, we need you to come back and fix something. So yeah. That'll bring them straight into that question and it's very clear that you need them to redo it. So that gets rid of more back and forth. And then when you're done, you hit that export button, right? And that'll generate a PDF. Well, in this case, a CSV, but change that to PDF of all their answers, as well as push all the documents to whatever system that you're using. So whether that's SharePoint or Google Drive or whatever, but you can also download them all locally in one like sort of zip folder. Yeah, so that's kind of the process start to finish, a really quick version of it. You could save different types of templates for different types of clients. So, you know, you don't have to go through that builder step every time. You would just say, I've got a new mortgage client. I want to send this template to them, go, right? You don't have to go to that builder step and pre-fill unless you want to. So, because you've got
the value is that if you would only do that if you are trying to segment the things. So, for example, often I found in mortgage broking, you might do a pre-assessment. You might ask for 5 things when you're doing that pre-assessment rather than doing a full fact find.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. Like maybe you want to ask different questions if it's investment, or like if you already know it's an investment, you might have a different set of questions you send. You could obviously have the master template that they self-select their way through. Like, is this an investment property or is it the principal place of residence? Then show or hide different questions. Some people like to go a bit more high touch, and they might have actually bespoke questions. So when you can create a request from an existing template and then modify it only for this customer, this client.
Nice.
Yeah, so like the template is just kind of the starting point, but sometimes people will just send the raw template to the client. So yeah, you've got that flexibility, that's the thing. It's like Content Snare works when you're getting any kind of information from a client. It doesn't have to be the same template every time. It could be a handful, 5 specific follow-up questions. Like, let's say they've answered a bunch of stuff. I could go back and I've got 5 new questions based on what they said. I can add a new page to this request and say from an AI prompt and just paste the 5 questions I've got in here, and it'll generate that final page to go into the request. That just stops you having to go, like, you could create a blank page and then go, I want to add a question that is like blah, 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 and add another question. Or you can just use that AI thing and it'll generate the 5 questions and detect that this one's a file, this one's a text, this one's an address, whatever.
Okay. So, and I guess this is how you are differentiating how you use AI. AI is really part of the creation process of the form, but it is not used on client data.
Correct. No, absolutely not. I guess the caveat there would be don't put client data into that box.
Yeah.
If you're putting
Into
client
the
data
prompt.
in there, into the prompt itself. That said, we are using OpenAI API, which is bound by terms that says they're not using it for training data and not storing it and blah, 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 blah. This is a funny conversation that comes up a bit around data security and privacy with AI. It's like they explicitly say they're not going to use it, but do you trust them? But then that's the same with every software you've ever used. Like, what are they doing with the data? They could say anything. So yeah, you've just got to make a risk call.
It's one of those things where, sure, we can only use the software and the toolings that are available to us.
Yeah.
But Google, Microsoft, they hold a lot of information.
Yeah.
So I guess at the end of the day, privacy is important. And so when you're using AI inside of Content Snare, it's really about form creation. It is not about doing a risk assessment or judgment call on any of the client data at this moment in time.
Correct, yeah.
It makes all the difference. If people wanted to reach out and learn more about Content Snare, where should they go and what should they do?
Well, it's contentsnare.com. It's probably the best place. Free trial. I'd recommend signing up, sending a questionnaire to yourself, like use a personal email or something, pretend you're a client, go through the process that you just saw there so you can see what it's like for yourself. Usually that's where the sort of click happens with people, is they're like, like I see how easy this is. After all, that is like our entire USP, is that we're just easier to use than basically every other system, which I didn't think would be that hard to, it's just weird to me how that's not become the norm. But like, we have people come to us and they're just like, oh man, like people wouldn't even use the previous system and they've like filled out everything in Content Snare in 2 hours. So we hear that kind of thing pretty often.
And I guess this is the gift of coming from web, because what user interest matters and like how to keep people engaged. And
sure.
So from your perspective, you unknowingly actually built it from a UX point of view,
sure.
Which normally when people are doing forms, that's not the view. You've given it enough color to also make it easier for people to see things. But it makes all the difference to how fast someone will fill in a form, because they can see what they need to do and when they need to do it next. And if they need to ask a question, they're not having to jump out of the system. They can actually stay in full context and write a comment and then continue to the next question, because they're 100%. Not lost in a tangent. Yep. Exactly. And I guess that's the gift of what Content Snare is providing.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for joining me on the pod, James. It was great to chat.
Yeah, awesome, Katie. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Please remember, anybody watching this, to like, share, and do comments. If you have any more questions for James, feel free to put them down below. Catch you guys later.